Hey friends, this is Marilyn from tarotclarity.com. I'm in my moo-moo, but I'm doing this video about 20 minutes after I did the other video that you saw last night. You may recall a few days ago I showcased one of Marco's decks, an Aluette deck, which is a card playing deck. It's not a tarot deck. And he had given this deck to me. He had sent this deck to me when he sent me the Minchiati, the Gassman, excuse me, and this one. So we're going back several months. I held on to them for a long time before I was allowed to, showcase them, because Marco had wanted to make sure that he had them available on his website. This one is still not available on his website, but I asked him, I said, I've been holding on to this deck. Yeah, I got to showcase it. Can I show it? And he said, yes. But he wanted me to make sure you understood that it's not available for purchase. Now, one of the reasons I'm sure Marco published this deck was because when he created his Eliphas Lévi, one of the five additional cards that Lévi put in his personal tarot deck were 5 cards from the Aluette deck, which was a regular deck of playing cards, 48 card deck that was created or played typically at the border of Spain and France, primarily in France. And when I showcased his Eliphas Lévi deck and I saw the Aluette cards, one of the first things I had to do was get an Aluette deck. But of course I couldn't find one that wasn't 150 years old. So I had to, on a whim, go to Make Playing Cards to see if somebody made it available, and somebody had, and I'm so grateful to them. So I went and I had a deck. I went to Make Playing Cards, and the only Aluette deck that was available there I purchased. And then I showcased it along with the Eliphas Lévi cards that were from the Aluette. And I could see that they were from a different deck. And the deck that this was from the Grimaud deck from, I don't know when it was, 1860 maybe. I think there might have been a date on it. It doesn't give a date. So fast forward all these months later, and now Marco, he told me, and I'm sure, he didn't even have to tell me, I knew, that he created the Aluette deck in response to the 5 cards that there were in the Eliphas Lévi, because like me, he was interested, like, let me check out this, Aluette deck. Now this deck that he reproduced, made his own, so happens, and I thought it happens to be the same Grimaud deck that I got a copy of from Make Playing Cards. So the purpose of this video is to showcase a facsimile deck compared to when Marco restores a deck to bring out its magic. There's no comparison. I mean, you can go and get, like I did, you can go and get the inexpensive Make Playing Cards copy so that you have an Aluette deck, so that you can reference it, or any deck, right? But if you really want one created by a master, I think this video is going to showcase why Marco is well, we already know Marco's a master. But in case you didn't get that memo, I think this deck will help you see it. Okay, so we have the same deck, right? We have the Make Playing Cards on the right, and then we have Marco's, I don't know what rightly to call it, a restoration, or I'm not exactly sure how Marco would classify it. We do see that there are black lines through the red of the sword, and we do see it here, but the red is covering it. But we see that the reds are redder, the yellows and greens, we do have a stamp here that we don't see on this card. Now, the one thing I think is that is not showing up on camera, here are the backs, is that there's no comparison between these two cards in real life. This is a really dark background. And it may just be because it was reproduced using scans and the paper's probably discolored. But we have the benefit of, I think, clearly Marco shows a fresher, cleaner surface. Also, you notice the vertical ribbing, which is characteristic of the way the paper was made back in the day. So even if, I think just by virtue of using clean, fresh paper, it brings the colors so much more to life. In person, this is nowhere near as vibrant as this. I don't know how it translates on the camera, because through the lens, I'm not seeing the big difference that I'm seeing in real life. You can see it maybe in the brightness of the orange yellow, which is muted here. So we have a dusty gray background, and then we have all the colors then a dusty gray, and mute it. Whereas with the Marco deck, it's just alive. I think we saw that too in the Bordoni, the restored Bordoni that I have, versus the facsimile deck, which I don't have, but other people might have showcased the facsimile. Well, Marco's a master of color, and if you want to see the deck true to how it looked, this could be considered a facsimile, as well as, say, one of Yves' decks, or Yves' or Fleur Noire, right? Those are scholarly decks because even though they're restored, they're true, right? I think the same could be said about Marco. They're maybe restored, some of them are facsimiles perhaps, but the ones where he restored, they're true. They're just better. You know what I'm saying? So this isn't tarot, so maybe it's not as interesting to us. But it is interesting in the sense that we can compare the difference between something that Marco produces and something that's just, excuse me. So it's just by coincidence that I just happen to have the same. And I'm guessing that the only Aluette deck that might have been produced or that exists is the Grimaud. But when I was trying to find an authentic Grimaud, they were out of print and so expensive I couldn't. So I had to go through make playing cards just so I can have a copy. And the Aluette cards that Eliphas Lévi used are not the same as obviously as this, because Grimaud came up with this later. But whatever deck Eliphas Lévi used, I couldn't find it. So this is one of the cards that Eliphas Lévi left or uses in his personal tarot deck. So this is one of the inclusions. I should have pulled them ahead of time so I would know what they were. I think this one also might have been. What is this thing? I'm not sure what that is. A turban? I don't know. Just a massive ribbon. So despite my camera not really showing you the difference, if you can make, see how this is like much more dusty gray, and then all the other colors are really muted. it's, you know, if I had a choice, okay, put it to you like this. If I had a choice between, if somebody just showed me, which deck would you prefer to have, this one or this one? I mean, there's no question. I'd rather have this one. You see the, almost like the Swiss influence there in the chalices. That's what I call the Swiss influence. I've never heard anybody else call it that. It's just my observation. And then we just have the, you know, the valet, the knight, which happens to be a woman, and then the king. So we only have 3 court cards. I think the other cards that might have been in the Eliphas Lévi deck were of the coins. 3 cards from the coins, I think. So here we have, you know, kind of a fun and cute ace. Now we have a mark here that we don't have here. We do see the details of the child here. We don't see it here. Okay, I have one of these cards upside down. I don't know which it was. It was probably, it's probably this way, duh. And then here we see the arrows to let us know. Oh, okay. So this deck let us know. Let's see this other card that I wasn't sure about. Yeah, wow, the Aluette does indicate what's up. Isn't that something? It indicates what's up. So this points up, this points down, this is to the side. That's so cool. I'm on the wrong card, okay. I noticed that the other day when I did the video, that there were arrows to indicate up and down. Very clever. Now with the batons or the suit, the pip cards, I don't know really, does it matter? But I guess it did to the card maker, the original card maker. Okay, here we have the page, or the jack maybe. Look at the difference in the blue. The knight. The king. So here, the Ace of Coins has a little bit of a world card going on, don't you think? Where we have an emblem, where we have a nice community. And then we have the Grimaud identification. So I think the cards might have been the 4 and the 5 of coins. And then I don't remember what the 3rd card was. I don't recall what the 3rd card was. Or the 5th. I just showed, you know, I showed 4 of the 5, but I'm not sure what the 5th one was. I pointed it out in yesterday's video, though. So you can see the difference in the yellows in particular. The little eagle. Is it perched on his finger? Or is it on his tunic? That's interesting. Well, it can't be perched on his finger because his legs are down there, so duh. there we have it. A side-by-side comparison of perhaps not a deck that Marco has available for purchase, but just to show the difference in quality between just something that might just be a straight up, facsimile from the scans and the magic that Marco brings to a deck. It's possible that it hasn't been published because maybe he wants to fine-tune certain things. Like I'm guessing someplace where there was a little face that was not clear on the batons. Was it the batons? The face, yeah. There might have been, reasons like that. Maybe Marco didn't bring it out. You know what I mean? He'd have to maybe fine-tune that or tweak that or something. But in general, I think you can get the gist that this is just the difference between night and day. Until next time, friends, peace, stay well, be brave, and be kind.